So today's job, I'm going to be looking to mount the fridge, or at least get all of the positioning ready so I can cut all of the vent holes, get the unit made around it. I'll be making a unit going up to the height just beneath where the upper bunk's going to go. So I've been marking out where it's going to be going. It's the slightly taller fridge. It's a 3-way fridge, so it needs vents cutting out in the other side of the bloody van. So it can't really push that far back because of the supporting beam going all the way along. I could be cheeky and cut it, but I'm not going to do anything like that. I don't want to compromise any of the structural integrity of the van, so it's just going to sit up pretty much against it. I'm going to cut all of the insulation around behind it, so it's got plenty of airflow going behind it. There'll be a lower vent and an upper vent getting cut. So at the moment I'm just going to finish marking up where I'm going to be cutting out. I did do one trace drawing, but I've decided to just nudge the fridge a little further down. So I'm going to remark it and get cutting and get the insulation out that doesn't need to be in. Right, well, I've just cut the insulation out. So you can see the fridge is going to be pushed up right against the actual supporting bar and the structural beam going all the way along the side of the van. The exhaust flue is going to be going straight out there. I'm going to have a rectangular vent in this section above the beam, and another vent down there against the panel right low down, so then air's getting drawn in from beneath. It's having to get mixed over all of the coils and the cooling chambers, then it's going to be getting pushed out the top there as well, so that's how it cools down. There's going to be a full unit built both sides going up to the line there, so that's going to be pushed right back and into where the insulation is as well, just to try and get as good a airtight seal around this area as possible. And the bottom will have a dropout hole just because it's going to have a gas connection on it. So that's the insulation part done, and I'm going to have to start measuring up for some vent holes and making the unit. Well, I've cut the two main panels just down to a standard size, and that is just a bit of scrap ply. That's the old flooring that I took up just because it was starting to splinter. It was looking a bit worse for wear, but rather than chuck it away, I figured I'd keep it just because I thought it might come in handy. I've been back and forth to this God knows how many times now, but that is now cut perfectly to go around and fit into the insulation. I've actually sliced into the insulation so it's going to sit flush inside it. This isn't pushed all the way back in at the moment, this is just a test fit just to show. But as I say, I've made cutouts for there, cutouts for where it's going to be mounting over where the wheel arch is, then around and down for the wheel arch. Plenty of little cutouts there for the top bit as well. So this has been in and out, I don't know how many times now. Must have been about 20 or 30 cuts and trims just to try and get it down to the size of where the fridge is going to be going. But I'm happy with this template now, so rather than ruin the good worktop, I figured I'd use old scrap ply, make sure it's actually going to be fitting correctly. So I'm going to be drawing around that onto the good worktop. I'm going to get that cut, and hopefully I'll have a first time cut perfectly fitting fridge cabinet. Right, well, that's lots more trimming and offcuts done for the second side as well, but that is a fitting, just a test fitting. But that's all the trimming done, that's everything ready to go now, so it's ready to be secured in place. But I still haven't cut any of the vents for the fridge yet, so I can't mount the fridge in place. But obviously I needed to make the units before I could actually contemplate mounting the fridge. So it's going to have a top on there as well, and it's going as high as where the upper bunk's going to sit as well, so it's going to add a little bit of support for the back section of the upper bunk. But that's nicely cut away on both sides, fits nicely into the fridge frame. I'm going to change the fridge door, but other than that, it's nicely round the arches, it's cut into the insulation, round the supporting beams, all the way up to the top, angled off for the sides, and again on the other side, all the way down. Just a little trim up and around the arch. The arch is still to be carpeted as well, so I'll be carpeting this before I secure it in place. But again, I just etched it into the insulation all the way back, so it's pretty much going to be given a almost airtight sort of seal around the fridge as well. The fridge is going to have a gas drop out hole underneath, and it's also going to have the copper pipe work coming up as well. But that's coming along nicely. So I'm just going to have to create the bottom shelf that's going to sit on top of the fridge, the top, and then I might either split it into shelving or leave like a bigger section and a shelf as well. Oh, it's coming along quite nicely. Right, well, I'm getting there with the fridge unit. I've just wired up the cabling for the fridge. I've run a cable up, along, around and back down, because I'm going to have the hookup point coming out from behind where the fake fog light is, or the false fog light. I've actually got the fridge plugged in at the moment as well, just on an extension lead, just to be sure that it's working, and there is a nice green light in there, so it powered on straight away. So I'm hoping there's going to be no issues with the fridge. It's the first time I've actually tested it since I got it. But I did put a thermometer in there, and it was reading 24 when I put it in, so it's dropped it down to 14, and it's still just dropped there again as well. It's only been turned on less than an hour, and I can feel heat, quite a lot of heat now, coming off the fins at the back. So I say this is just a quick test run. I'll leave it running for another hour or so, just to be sure that it's going to be nice and cold. Obviously I didn't want to build the entire unit, fit everything in, and find out the fridge wasn't working. So it's always best to test the fridge before going ahead and fitting. So I'm going to leave this for another hour, so make sure the temperature's dropped a little bit more than currently what it's reading on there at the moment, which is 14.6. But it started off at 24, so it's getting there. And then once I'm happy that the fridge is working fine, I'll be able to finish off the unit and get the gas ran, and that'll be working. Well, I've had the fridge plugged in probably about 2 hours now, something like that. And I've taken it out of the unit just while I'm continuing to build into it. But when you take that out now, that's down to a nice 6 degrees. Started off at 24, so that's a good sign. And when I feel the fins at the back, they're nice and cold. And on the radiator, on the freezer, you can actually see frost on the freezer. So it's a good fridge, that's what I like to see. So I'm just going to continue building the unit. It's getting there. I've just put the top piece on now. Again, I cut a template because I don't want to mess up cutting this worktop, just because it's expensive worktop. So I'd rather mess about with loads of daft bits of ply than ruin the good bit. So it's coming along. That's the frame in place, lid on top. I'm going to get some edging just to cover over the ply. So I've got another shelf to go in there, just that'll sit on top of the fridge, and I'll put another shelf going across as well, and then that will be that done, other than the gas pipe work. So that's the drop out hole for the fridge, for the gas, cut in. It's cut all the way through the stand and through all the flooring. So I'm just going to get underneath and give the metalwork just a quick coat with some hammerite, just to be sure, just to stop any rust, just to protect the metalwork as well. Right, so I'm just drilling the hole for the gas pipe for the fridge. I've just put a tiny small pilot hole through, drill pit there. And that's poking through the van on the underside. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out in here or not. As you can see, that's actually sticking through. It's in a nice position. It's not too close to the sides, not near any supporting beams. So I'm going to increase the size of that hole now. with the size required for the actual pipe. It's 8mm pipe that I'm using. Drill the hole through and then feed the gas, and I'm going to bend it straight over around, securing it to the side of the unit here and feeding up and along and out onto the fridge. So I'm going to increase the hole size now and start getting the gas pipe fed through. So there's the hole drill for the gas. Just need to start feeding the pipe through now. So for the gas pipe, I've just bought a spool of 10m 8mm copper piping. That's from Screwfix. It was only £17. The local caravan store, where they're relatively cheap on other parts, they were charging £4.50 a metre, so that would have worked out 45 quid for this much. Obviously I don't need 10 metres worth, but the saving means it's worth it just to get the spool, in case you do mess up any cuts or anything, you need to redo any joints. So I'm about to start feeding that through the hole at the bottom and get it fed under the van, and then there'll be a T-cut for the Propex heater, and then it's going to be coming back out into the kitchen unit where I've got the gas locker on the side. So I'll get this fed in and see how it goes. The gas pipe is run. I'll put it just as a temporary securing clip there until the fridge is in place. I'm going to get a proper P-clip and secure it to the side. So at the moment it's just got a little retainer clip. The unit itself I've secured in place. I've got brackets mounted to the supporting bar of the panel itself. So this unit is now not going anywhere at all. It's also screwed to the floor plate as well. I've put a bigger cutout in the base that the fridge sits on, and I've fitted the dropout vent. So if there were any leaks, of which there shouldn't be, and it's all going to be tested anyway, but worst case scenario, if there were, there's a full dropout vent there, and I've put little bits of ply on the inside where there were little bits of gaps where I didn't quite get the unit 100% flush with the wheel arch itself. So on the other side I'm just going to put a little bit of carpet on the inside there just to hide the ply that I've put, but obviously I'd rather have a little bit of carpet ply there rather than a big gaping gap where any gas, if there was any leaks, could escape out. So that's a pretty much airtight sealed unit now, as good as it's going to get anyway. So now the fridge just needs to go back in. Gas pipe's ready, so I'm going to need to cut the vents first. I'm going to be cutting the bottom vent, the top vent in there, and the flue pipe. Then the fridge is ready to go in, get plumbed in and get tested. Right, so I'm just about to cut the hole for the vents. One is going to be sitting just there in between the bottom runner and the top. So one's going to be sitting nicely in between there, and then the other one's going to be sitting in the top panel. So I'm just going to be drilling a really small pilot hole first, just to be sure. I don't want to be filling the panel with holes just in case they get in the wrong place, but they shouldn't be. I said that is a good template from the inside of the fridge, so I know pretty much where it's going to be going. So as I say, it's going to be a 21x7 hole there, and the same again in the top. So I'm just going to mark it up, get the pilot holes drilled, double check, and then get it all cut out. So that's all 4 holes drilled in the corner, so I can get the jigsaw in. So now I just need to get the jigsaw out, get a fine metal tooth blade in it, get it cut out, and there's one vent done. Right, so I'm about to cut the hole out. if you're bothered about the paintwork, you should put some masking tape around the frame. I'm not bothered about this because it's going to be getting repainted anyway, and at the moment I just need the vents in because I'm going to be using the van before it's going to be getting repainted. So I'm not really too fussed about if it gets slightly scuffed around the outside of the vent, because I'd say it's all going to get repainted anyway. So other than that, I'm about to start. When you are cutting metal, you should always wear goggles as well, because you don't want any sharp metal in your eye. So here we go. Right, and there's one hole cut. I just need to prep the bare metal that I've just exposed there, so I'm just going to be putting some primer around that just to be sure that the bare metal's not going to start rusting, and then the vent is going to be okay to be stuck on top. I'm not going to screw it on, I'm just going to Sikaflex it in place, because as I say, I'm going to be getting taken off anyway when the panel's going to get repainted, so it's pointless screwing it all on at the moment. So it's just going to get a bead of Sikaflex after I've treated the bare metal, and then the vent can be stuck on. Right, so that's the two holes for the vents cut. I've already painted around that one, I've gave it a treating. I'm just going to treat this one now. I've just freshly cut this. I've just got one more hole round about there for the flue, and then that'll be all the holes cut for the three-way bridge. Right, so I'm about to cut the hole for the flue. That's the flue pipe there coming out, but it's really quite awkward to mark up exactly where it is. That's the pipe that goes onto it, but that's actually too long. I'm going to have to actually cut that down, because obviously this is made for caravans and the thickness that they go through on the caravans. So I'm still going to get it in place, then I'll cut it down afterwards, but obviously it won't sit over there for me to draw a template round or anything. So all I've done is got like a small flexible pen that will sit on top of the flue, and basically just drew around it against the metalwork. So then I've got a pretty good idea where I need to drill the hole. Again, I'm only going to be doing a small pilot hole, but I'm going to be drilling from the inside out, otherwise I've got no idea where the markings are on the outside of the van. And I'm not going to start measuring away from the vent, because that's just going to be more hassle than it's going to be worth. So I'm just going to take the fridge back out now. Now I've done a good template that I know pretty much exactly where the flue needs to go. Drill the pilot hole, make sure it's looking pretty much alright, and then get the hole saw out and get a proper hole cut. Right, so there's the hole cut for the flue, fits through nicely. The hole itself was just a little tight just because the flue goes in at an angle, so I just trimmed an ever so slight addition to the very top itself, but still not much at all. Just an ever so slight trim at the very top just to allow for the angle, because the flue pipe goes in downwards to connect in on the inside. You can see that there as well. So that's the pipe going in. So you can't quite make it out there, but it is actually sitting nicely on the pipe of the actual fridge. But you can see there it's sticking out far too much. So I'm going to have to probably cut a good inch and a half off that, and then that'll be ready to fit. Right, so that's the flue trimmed down with a grinder. Took a couple of trims because obviously I didn't want to take too much off and then be left with a pipe that wasn't long enough. But that's poking out just nicely there. You can see where I've treated the metalwork going around as well. But I'm also going to surround the hole with a bit of mastic tape, and then it'll also be Sikaflexed on the inside as well, just to be sure that there's not going to be getting any water leaks going in there. But obviously it does also have the rain cover that's going to sit over there as well, like that. So you can see that fits nice and neatly. It'll be getting stuck down really tightly again with Sikaflex. So that is pretty much all the holes for the vents and the flue all sorted and done. Right, so I'm in the final fitting stages now, and there's the flue in place. I've just used mastic to go all the way around it, so it means if I do need to take it back out again, because mastic is non-setting, I can just rip it straight back out, but it provides a fully watertight seal, and as you can see around there, there's no gaps at all. I've been round with the non-stick side and just made sure everything was tapped down to give a nice secure seal. So there's the flue in place. I'm just going to now run a bead of Sikaflex going around the vents, around that one, and around the inside of the fridge one. And that one's going to be in place there, and I'll have the other vents in place on that side. There we go, that's the vents all fitted. So I've gone for black vents. Well, they were white vents, I've just painted them black, but they'll be getting another coat when the van actually gets done as well. I'll be painting this metal cover when I'm painting the van as well. But as you can see, they're giving, well, they should give nice clear airflow going through to the fridge. I've had these exact same vents fitted on my last fridge, on the last van that I did, and it worked fine. If anything, it was sometimes getting too cool, so that's just a good sign. I've put like a pepper pot lid over the flue just to stop any creepy crawlies going in, but it's not fully sealed, and it's like a tiny little mesh grid type thing, so that's just to stop any creepy crawlies getting down into the flue, but it should still give plenty of area for the exhausts to escape. So that's the outside of the van done. I just now need to put the final mountings in place for the fridge. I'm just about to screw it in place. There's a few top and bottom. I'll probably put a screw hole just through the metal plate as well, because that's just a little bit bent just with me pulling it in and out all the time. I've got to connect the gas, connect the 240, and then it's all sorted. Right, so on the wiring of the fridge, I've already got a 240 lead coming down for that socket, so that's for the 240 when you unhook up. Gas obviously takes care of itself. The 12 volt, you've just got a live and a negative. I've already ran a cable down, and that's the live coming from the battery. That's running through a switched relay, so it will only turn on when the van's actually running. For the negative side, because it's running off the van battery, it needs to be earthed through the van chassis. So I've just undone one of the brackets for the unit itself, and I've ground the paintwork back to bare metal. So that's going to be the ground point for the fridge, and the live, as I say, is just going to be the hookup all the way down to the battery. So I'm going to get this in and time to get it secured. I've just taken the fridge out because after fitting it in and trying to fire it up on the gas, I wasn't actually seeing any sparks going through the viewer. Now I didn't know whether it was the igniter or the cable or like the piezo ignition system, or the actual fridge just being knackered itself completely. The cable going into the piezo did have a loose connector, so I did replace that, but I still wasn't seeing any spark, and I knew the fridge did fire up on 240 volts, so I didn't give up on the fridge. Having taken it out and looking around the back, I'd noticed underneath the earth was a bit loose inside there, but the earth is for 240 hookup, so that still wouldn't explain why the gas wasn't sparking or igniting. So when I was looking around where the insulation jacket was, I took this metal plate off. There's just 2 screws either side, and when I took that off, I realised that I could actually see the spark when my friend was pushing the igniter from the other side. There's like a metal grid in there, you might be able to see inside, and you can actually see the spark igniting in that area. So I knew the sparker was fine, so then I was wondering why can't I see it on the inside. So when I was looking on the other side, just down there is the actual glass for the viewer, and that looks down into where the ignition chamber is, and the insulation jacket itself had fallen down over the hole. So thankfully nothing needed replacing or anything. I've just moved the insulation sleeve back up, tightened it with the straps that it has on, and now from the front you can see it sparking away first time every time. So now this is ready to go back in, get fired up, and I know it works on the gas now because we did fit it and test it, but the only way we knew it was fired up was by putting your hand over the exhaust. Obviously that wasn't any good, but now I can actually see the flame, or the spark. We should be able to see the flame, so now it's time to get this back in and connect it back up. Right, so that is now the fridge, now fully finished, fully in its final position, tested, working, and all sorted now. After the issues with not being able to see the sparker and the flame in the back of the fridge, that's all sorted now. So it's all been tested on 240, 12 volt and the gas, and it's all working with no problems. So that's the unit all fully finished off as well. As you can see, I've got a nice front door on it. It just opens nice and wide, and nice lots of storage space inside there. I've just got a little hook on the side just to stop the door from just shaking open while you're driving. But other than that, it just flips off, opens up, and as I say, that's quite a vast storage area under there. You can get like the biggest boxes of cereal under there, fill it up with cans. You'd be enough storage there for probably a couple of weeks worth of food. Now underneath, I have left this top panel just loose still, just in case there was any reason to get in to do any maintenance with the fridge. That can just lift up and slide out. And under there you can see all of the wiring for the fridge and the gas. So that's the 12 volt, that's got the power going down to a switch relay off the battery with a negative just mounted onto the body chassis down there. The 240 is connected up, the wire goes up all the way around the chassis, back down, and that is connected into its own MCB on the hookup. So that means when I'm on 240 hookup, the fridge itself has its dedicated circuit which is automatically going to kick in and put the fridge onto 240 whenever you need it to. The gas is all connected, all sorted and working now as well. So I'll show you that firing up. I'll just put the lid back on, 1 second. Right, so with the fridge on the gas, obviously both the electrics just need to be turned off. The gas needs to be turned on in the gas locker. That's my gas locker that I've built myself. That's a metal lined gas locker that I've made and had signed off by a safety engineer. So if you want to have a look at see how I've made that, have a look at my channel. So I've got the gas turned on in the bottle there. So now if I open the fridge, you should be able to see the sparker kicking in. So you can see the sparker there every time. And now if I turn the gas on and try and spark it, it should ignite. And there you see, there's a flame straight away. So that's the gas fridge working spot on straight away. It's just a bit awkward to get the camera in there, but yeah, you can see the flame nicely lit there and it's heating the element straight away. So that's the gas fridge working straight away, 100% as well. As I have actually been away and tested this while I've been away, and it worked fine for the entire week. Well, I was just short of a week while we were away, and it worked fine for the entire trip. And as you can see, that's still lit there. So I'll just turn the gas back off, shut the gas off in my gas locker. So there you go, that's how I've fitted my Electrolux 3-way fridge, building my own unit, full surround around it. It's been fitted, tested on 12 volt, 240 and gas, it's all working fine. As I say, the 240 is connected up to a full consumer unit down there. The 12 volt is connected to the battery at the front with a switched relay. If you want to see how I've wired the relay, have a look at my channel. There's another video showing how I've wired that, and I've got the cable running all the way down the side and the fridge. So I hope you found the video useful on how I've fitted my Electrolux 3-way fridge into my VWT4 high top. Hope you found the video useful. If you did, have a look at my channel. I'm documenting the entire conversion of this high top on there, everything from fitting RX8 seats to the SMEV unit, pull out bed, toilet, all the carpeting, laying the floor, everything's been documented on my channel. So feel free to have a look at that for other useful videos on conversion hints and tips. And there you go, I hope you found the video useful on how I fitted my 3-way fridge into my VWT4. Thanks for watching, cheers.